welcome to our next Pilates session. So today we are going to work on our core muscles and our abdominal muscles. So let's get started. So we're going to come feet together, up nice and tall, and then just take toes out, heels out, and just gently taking that pressure through the forefoot and then back through the hind foot. So you're just gently swaying one way and the other, feeling that weight transfer through the front of the feet and through the back of the feet. And we're going to come to that midpoint where we've got equal weight through both areas of the feet. And then from there, just gently taking weight through the right leg and then back through the left leg. Again, feeling that weight transfer through one and the other. And then we're going to come back to that midpoint where you just feel equal pressure through both feet and you've got equal pressure through toes and heels. You're going to just lengthen up through the legs, so make sure you've not locked your kneecaps out, so keep those kneecaps nice and soft. And then we're going to think about the pelvis as though it's a big bowl, marble at the bottom. We're just going to roll that marble forward and backwards. So arching and hollowing through that lower spine, shortening and lengthening down, shortening and lengthening down. And then thinking about that marble at the bottom of the bowl, how far it goes in either direction, and coming up to that midpoint so that your marble's at the bottom of the bowl. You've got a little bit of length down through the front, a little bit of pulling up through the front, lengthening down through the back, pulling up through the front, and then from there we're then going to stack the spine up. So just make sure your knees are soft again, make sure they're not locked out, and then lengthen through the spine. So think about the back of your spine, lengthening through that lower spine, through the rib cage, through the back of the shoulders, through the back of the neck and the top of the back of the head and the crown of the head. So you're nice and long through there. And then we'll just loosen off through the shoulders, circles in one direction, and then back in the other direction. Good. And then lift those shoulders up, glide them back, glide them down, keeping that marble at the bottom of the bowl, keeping the knees soft and equal pressure. And we're going to come into running from here. So thinking about balance, I'll give you an alternative if this is too hard, or you can hold onto a chair for a little bit of balance if you need to, or a wall or something. So breath in, as you breathe out, we're going to pull up through the pelvic floor, in through the belly button, engaging through those core muscles. We're going to keep the left leg still, soft knee, and bring the right knee up in front. And then the left leg's going to come up as well. So as though we're in a pause running position. And then we're going to come into that running motion. So standing on the left leg, keeping that pelvis nice and neutral. So when you come back behind you with that right leg, you're thinking about squeezing the bottom muscle to come back behind. So we're not getting an arch through the lower back, but we're keeping everything nice and still, really using those glutes. Softening on the left and practicing that balance as you work through that running motion. So if you need to hold on gently, you can do, or if you want to come into both feet on the floor and just walking, so you're lifting your heels, but not having to challenge the balance quite as much, then you can work in that position. Okay, last couple if you're standing on that left leg. Good. And relax off. Good. And then from there, just have a little loosen off through the legs. We're going to come feet hip width apart again, up nice and tall, shoulders down. And if you want to carry on doing that walking where you're just doing opposite heel and arm, that's fine. Or if you're happy to come into that standing on the right leg, pelvis nice and neutral, soft knees, shoulders down and back. Think lengthening through the spine, core switched on, pull up through the pelvic floor, in through the belly button. Transfer that weight onto the right leg, bring the left leg in front, right arm in front, and coming through. Good. Opposite arm and leg in front and behind. And again, keeping that pelvis nice and neutral. So making sure you're not arching through that lower spine. Core switched on. Keep that length through the crown of the head. Soft knee on the right. Or again, if you just want to work in that walking, then you can do. But think about those core muscles controlling you, keeping your balance. And that left bottom muscle extending that leg behind you, making sure you're not using the lower back. Good, just keep going for a little bit longer. Good. 3, 2, and 1, and relax down. Good, well done. Okay, have a little loosen off through the legs again. So we're going to do another one that's just slightly challenging the balance. So again, if you need to hold on, you can hold on. So we're going to actually bring the feet together. Equal pressure through forefoot, hind foot, through both legs, lengthening up through the legs, pelvis nice and neutral, so just make sure that marble's at the bottom of the bowl, lengthening down through the back, pulling up through the front gently, lengthening through the spine, shoulders down and back. Core switched on, pulling up through the pelvic floor and through the belly button. We're going to stand on the left leg, and then from there we're going to bring your right, just come onto your right toes and bring your left hand across towards your opposite hip. And then from there you can either stay on those toes if you want to just keep a little bit of balance, hold on if you need to, or if you're happy to, you can bring that leg up towards the opposite knee, and from there we're going to come away and then back together. So you're going to turn the palm up, palm towards the ceiling, and then turn the sole of the foot towards your other leg and then away from the other leg. So everything from pelvis to shoulder stays nice and still. So it's called draw the sword. So we're drawing that sword, but we're also taking that leg away, and we're getting a little bit of rotation. So by turning the palm up and down, and by pointing the sole of the foot in and out, we work on rotation as well as flexion extension. So really nice one, just to open up through those front lines. Good. Breathing out, and then core switched on, nice and tall through the spine. Softening on the left. Good, let's do 2 more. And 1. Good, well done. And relax off. Have another little loosen off through the legs. Feet together, pelvis nice and neutral, shoulders down and back of the neck nice and long, core switched on. So I'm going to stand on the right leg with that knee soft. Right hand in towards the left hip, and then if you're happy to, you can come into that foot towards the opposite knee. And then from there, breathing out and breathing in. Remember, palm up, sole of the foot away, palm down, sole of the foot in. Good. Stay up nice and tall on that right hip. Make sure you're not sunk out to the side. And keep that right knee soft. So don't lock that kneecap out to help you balance. You're using those core muscles to help you balance. Keep that control, keep those shoulders down. Let's do 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. Good, well done. And relax down. Lots of work on our standing legs today, so have a rest if you need a little rest. We're going to come into skating. So again, bring your feet together, nice and tall through the legs. Pelvis nice and neutral, lengthen through the spine, shoulders down and back. I'm going to get you to pop your hands onto hips so that you're really trying to keep that pelvis as still as possible, making sure it's not going to tilt side to side. and making sure that you're not arching through that lower back. So core switched on. If you need to hold on for a little bit of balance, you can do. Core switched on, softening on the left. I'm going to peel that right heel up, stay tall on that left hip, coming up in front. We're going to go pull the toes up towards you, but lower the heel so it's just next to the other ankle, and then we're going to glide that heel out to the side, in and up, down, out to the side, maybe a little bit behind you as well, so that you're using that bottom muscle to come out to the side. Up, down, out, and in. Up, down, out, and in. And making sure that as you come out to the side, you're not arching through that lower back. So you're keeping that pelvis nice and still, but using that bottom muscle through the glutes to pull that heel out to the side. Keep those toes pulled up towards your knee, because that will help you fire through the glutes as you come out to the side with that heel. And make sure you're not sinking down on this hip or lifting up. That pelvis is staying nice and neutral. Good. Toes pointing forward. Good. Let's do 2 more. Good. And relax off. Good, well done. Okay, just have a little loosen off through the legs. Feet together, up nice and tall, shoulders back, pelvis neutral, core switched on. Softening on the right, peel the left heel up, and then coming up into that knee flexion and hip flexion. We're going to pull the toes up towards you, ankle next to the right ankle, out to the side with the heel, in, up, down, out to the side. So you keep a little bit of a soft knee so that foot doesn't come all the way to the floor, and you're keeping that pelvis really nice and still. So think about everything from the pelvis up, staying as still as you can. Thinking of keeping those toes up towards you and really leading with the heel, using that bottom cheek to bring that heel out to the side and maybe just slightly behind. Softening on the right. Good. Make sure you don't arch through the lower back. You should start to feel it through that bottom leg. And you'll probably feel it on the standing leg as well, because it's hard work to stand on one leg for that long. Who knew? Good. Keep that heel lifted. Softening on the right, pelvis nice and neutral, core switched on. Let's do 3 more. 2 and 3. Good, well done. Okay, break for the legs now, well done. And then we're going to come into a roll down. So bring your feet hip width apart. Drop those shoulders down, pelvis nice and neutral, soft knees. Lengthen through the spine. And we're going to really think about moving the spine 1 vertebra at a time. So you're going to think about working through the tummy and the bottom to keep that pelvis as neutral as you can, marble at the bottom of that bowl for as long as possible. And we're going to work from the top of the spine down. So breath in as you breathe out, engage through the core muscles, and then carry on breathing as you need to. Don't hold your breath. And then from there, we're going to tuck that chin in towards our neck, and then rolling the chin down towards the chest. Keeping this pelvis as still as possible, we're going to roll through the spine. And trying to keep that pelvis still for as long as possible. And when you can't go any further, then you're going to start to tip that marble forward in the bowl, and rolling forward as far as you feel comfortable to go. And then we're going to stack up, but we're going to really try and go squeeze your bottom pelvis first, and then stacking the spine 1 vertebra at a time, coming back up. And that first one might feel really stiff and unhappy, And I don't mind it feeling stiff, shouldn't be painful. Stop if you need to, come back up and just work. And if that just means that you work to hands to knees and back up, that's absolutely fine. Go with what feels right for you. So we're going to go again from that chin to neck and then rolling down. So the chin goes down to the chest, and you're going to sink that breastbone deep into the rib cage. Keep thinking about squeezing through the bottom, keeping that pelvis neutral, shortening through the tummy. Keep breathing, and then starting to tip forward through the pelvis. And then stacking up, pelvis first. So think about, imagine you've got a tail, tuck it between your legs. And then stacking your spine like building blocks, one on top of the other. And coming all the way up. Good, and again. Keeping that pelvis tucked as long as possible, squeeze through the bottom muscles, and then tipping forward. Let's do one more. Really thinking about that movement through the spine, individual vertebrae, one at a time. Well done. Okay, so once you've finished that last one, we're going to come down onto the mat and start working through core muscles and our abdominal muscles. So come down onto the mat and just make sure that your feet are in line with knees, hips, and when you lie down onto the back, our shoulders as well. We're going to come down onto the back. Make sure that the neck is nice and long, so you're not poking your chin up or tucking it down, but just nice and long through the back of the neck. Imagine if you should have space for an orange in between chin and chest. We're going to glide those shoulder blades just underneath the rib cage, so you take the ears away from, don't take your ears away from your shoulders, take your shoulders away from your ears, so you're just lowering down through there. And then from this position, we're just going to lift the bottom up and lower back down again. I want you to imagine that underneath your belly button, you've got a marshmallow that you're going to pop between your spine and the mat, and underneath your breastbone, you've got a 2p coin that you're going to pop between the spine and the mat. And just to start with, hands by your side, I want you to push your spine down onto that marshmallow, that 2p coin, so the pressure going through the back onto the mat is more, and you'll feel your tummy work as you do that. And then we're going to lift away, so you can just glide your fingertips underneath, so lifting away from that marshmallow, that 2p coin, squash back down again, so flattening through the spine onto the mat, and then lifting away. And then from there, we're going to come down at least halfway onto that marshmallow. Maybe a little bit more if you know that you tend to arch through that lower back. And then just keeping contact of the spine onto the 2p coin directly underneath the breastbone. And just from there, take a bit of a mental note of the pressure you feel of your back onto the mat. So we're really going to try and keep that same pressure of your back onto the mat, especially that marshmallow, as much as you can, so that what we don't want to do is start to lift up away from that marshmallow. Okay, so from here we're going to take a breath in and set through the core muscles as you breathe out. So pulling up through the pelvic floor, down through the belly button. So as though you're going to stop yourself from passing wind as you pull up through the pelvic floor, but not squeezing your bottom. And then gently just pulling that belly button really gently towards the spine, and you should just feel like that engages those lower tummy muscles. And then from there we're going to come into hundreds. So have your hands down by your side. You're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, I'm going to float one leg to tabletop. Now it might be that you just want to do one leg at a time if you can't keep that pressure down on that marshmallow. So breath in, if you're happy to, breathe out, float that second leg up to tabletop. And from there we're just going to float the hands just an inch off the mat and gently pulse. So imagine you've just got little puddles next to your hips, and you're just going to splash the top of the puddle with your hand. and keep breathing. Have that same pressure onto that marshmallow, that 2p coin. And you can either keep it here, if you want to just take it up a level, then take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to think about shortening through the tummy muscles, taking rib cage to pelvis, lengthen through the back of the neck, and lifting the head just off of the mat. Just be feeling it working on the tummy. Good. That's too much through your neck. Come back down again. That's fine. Keep those collarbones wide. And again, if you can keep that position and you're happy, even if your head's back down onto the mat, you can try this next one. Breath in. As you breathe out, lengthen one leg away from you, point it towards the opposite wall. We're going to hold it for 2 more breaths. And then breath in as you breathe out, float back to tabletop with that leg. Breath in as you breathe out, lengthen the other leg away. If it's hurting your neck, relax down onto the mat with your head. Hold it for 1 more breath in as you breathe out, float back to tabletop. Good, relax your head and shoulders. Just hold it there for a moment. Keep that same pressure of your back down onto the mat. 1 more breath in as you breathe out. We're going to lower one leg to the floor and then the other one down to join it. Good, well done. Lengthen through the legs, lengthen through the arms, have a big stretch through. Good, and maybe as you breathe in, you can reach those fingertips and toes away from one another. And as you breathe out, flatten back down again. Breath in, lengthen through, good. Breath out. Relax down 1 more time. Good. Bring those arms back down by your side. Bring one leg up and then the other leg up. And we're going to reset onto that marshmallow and that 2p coin. Make sure those shoulders are down away from your ears and neck's nice and long. So we're going to work through the upper abdominals now. So I want you to imagine that you've got little springs going from your rib cage down towards your pelvis. So through those abdominals. We're going to pop our hands behind our head. We're going to keep the elbows wide and just make sure that you're not pulling up with your hands as we do these. So we're really thinking of we're going to shorten these springs so rib cage comes towards the pelvis. We're going to try and keep that, just make sure in this position with the hands above your, or behind your head, that you're not lifting off of that 2p coin. So keeping that same pressure down. So think about pressure onto the marshmallow, pressure onto that 2p coin. So we're going to take a breath in. So you breathe out, engage through the core muscles, pulling up through the pelvic floor, down through the belly button. Breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to shorten those springs, rib cage to pelvis, and then breathing in as you come back down again. Breathing out, lift, breathing in, lower. Good, and again, breathing out, lift, breathing in, control down. Keep the elbows wide. And think about using those tummy muscles. So you're keeping the neck nice and long and you're thinking of shortening rib cage to pelvis. Breathing out as you lift. In as you control down. Good. And keep looking up towards the ceiling or towards the corner of the ceiling and the wall so that you're keeping that neck nice and long. Core stay switched on. Let's do 3 more. 2 and 1. Good, nice, well done. Relax your head down. Again, take your arms up above your head and just lengthen down through the arms and legs. Good. So on the next exercise, just keep stretching. I'm going to just talk you through it a little bit. We're going to still think about those those springs between rib cage and pelvis, but we're going to think about working them the other way. So pelvis coming towards rib cage. So we're going to focus on those lower abdominal muscles rather than those ones underneath the rib cage. Just bring your arms down by your side. We're going to bend one leg up, bring the other one up to join it. And just watch me, I'm going to demonstrate to start with. So core switched on, we're going to float one leg and then bring the other leg to join it. And then from there, we're going to think about shortening pelvis to rib cage. So it might be that you feel that that tailbone lifts up off of the mat gently. You might feel that if your back's a bit stiff, you don't get much of a tailbone lift, but you're going to just try and bring, if you imagine that you've just got directly above your shoulders, you've got just a little pad that your knees are going to come towards. So you're feeling like you're shortening through those lower abdominals. Okay, so come down onto the mat, pelvis nice and neutral on that marshmallow, that 2p coin, shoulders down. And then we're going to take a breath in as you breathe out, engage through the core muscles, pulling up through the pelvic floor, in through the belly button. We're going to take a breath in as you breathe out, float one leg to tabletop. Breath in as you breathe out, bring the other leg to join it. We're going to bring feet and knees together. Have your hands onto the mat, but I don't want it to be a white knuckle rise, so don't cling onto the mat or hold on, just gently next to you by your side. Breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to bring pelvis towards rib cage and then come back down again. Squeezing and coming back down. Now if you get a little bit of a lift, that's fine, that's good. If you don't worry. It's just probably because your lower back may be a bit stiff. And if you feel you can do it without your arms by your side, then have a go. But if you feel that you need a little bit of support with your arms, then that's fine too. Have them by your side. So you're not coming knees to chest. You're thinking about taking your knees above your shoulders, so up here. So you're aiming for. Good. And you should feel that working through those lower tummy muscles. Good, we're going to do 3 more. 2 and 1. Good, well done. Have a little hug. Those knees in towards your chest. Good work, well done. And just circle those knees over your chest as well. Good. And circle in the other direction. Good, well done. And then we're going to lower one leg down to the floor and bring the other one down to join it. So we're going to come into hip twist level 3 next. So we're going to work those oblique abdominals. So just make sure you come down onto that marshmallow and that 2p coin, shoulders down, neck nice and long. We're going to engage through the core muscles. Breath in. As you breathe out, float one leg to tabletop. Breath in as you breathe out, bring the other leg to join again, feet and knees together. We're going to take both hands up towards the ceiling. Keep the collarbones wide, shoulders away from your ears. And then from here, we breathe in as you open your arms up wide. Breathe out, you're going to take both your knees across to one side. Breathing in, hands to ceiling, keep the shoulders flat. Breathing out, bring your knees back to the centre. So arms wide, knees across, so we alternate side to side with the knees. Hands towards the ceiling, keep the shoulders down, and then bring the knees back to the ceiling. So arms wide, knees to the side, keep the shoulders flat, and then control the knees back to the centre. So as we take the knees to the side, those tummy muscles are holding them there as you bring your arms up, and then gently bring those knees back to the centre. Arms wide, knees to the side, arms up, and then knees to the centre. So breathing in, breathing out as you move the knees, in as you move the arms, out as you move the knees. Good. And just getting as far as you can control. If you feel that when you lift your arms up off of the mat, off of the floor, that you can't keep those shoulders flat, then you're maybe going a bit far. Keep that control, keep those core muscles switched on. Let's make this a last one on either side. Good, well done. And then just lower one leg down, bring the other one down to join it. Take your arms above your head and just have a big stretch through those arms and legs again. And as you breathe in, reach fingertips and toes away from one another, so you're really lengthening through those tummy muscles. And then breathing out and relaxing down. Good. Breath in, reach fingertips and toes away. Breath out, relax through. Good. One more time. Good, well done. Right, so we're going to come onto our side. And from here, we're going to just make sure, so your legs should be in a nice straight line. So from the crown of the head down to the heels, a nice straight line. Make sure you're not arching through that lower back. So just imagine you've got a tail, you're going to tuck it between your legs gently so you pull up through the tummy muscles a little bit. And then we're also just going to make sure that you just lengthen through the spine. So rather than sinking down into the mat, we're going to just take that top hip away from the top rib cage and just be able to slide a fingertip underneath your waist and mat. And then from there, we're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to engage through those core muscles. Breath in, and as you breathe out, just lift one leg up and then bring the other off the mat as well. So from there, you're just controlling slightly. If you need a little bit of balance, then just rest your fingertips onto the mat. So from there, we're going to lift that top leg up, lower back down. If it's too much for you doing this, because it works through that waist quite hard, relax that bottom leg down and just work through that top leg. But if you're happy to, lifting up, breathing out, breathing in, little lift and lower. I don't want you to shorten through this way, so keep that top leg nice and long. Breathing out, breathing in. Good. Breathing out and in. Keep that control, keep those core muscles switched on. Let's do two more. Then we're going to hold this position where the feet are floating. Take the top leg just off the bottom leg, and we're going to do little circles. Good. Change direction of those circles. Good. Keep breathing. And then relax that leg down onto the other leg. Just hold it there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower the feet back down onto the floor. Good, well done. Okay, and then from there, just bring that bottom leg forward to the front edge of the mat, and you're either going to bring that top leg behind or in front so it's out of the way. You're going to lift that lower leg again, and we're going to circle that lower leg. So thinking about that heel doing a circle, really think about lengthening through the leg. Good. And then I'm going to change directions of those circles. Good, 2 more, and then relax down. Nice work, well done. Okay, and then from there, we're going to swap sides and do that same side lift on the other side. So lengthen through, so from the heels to the crown of the head, nice long straight line, making sure that pelvis is nice and neutral. So imagine you've got a tail, tuck it between your legs gently, pulling up through the front, lengthening down through the back. And then take that top hip away from the top rib cage so that you're lengthening, and you can just glide your fingertips underneath the waist and the mat. You can have your hands just on the mat for a little bit of support if you want. We're going to engage through the core muscles, float that top leg up, and then bring that bottom leg to join it. Good. And control through. If you need that hand on the mat, then you can do. From there, we're going to lift and lower. Make sure that you keep that top hip lengthened away from the rib cage so you're not shortening through here. Good. And again, think about lifting with the heel rather than the toes. That'll make you fire up through that bottom muscle. Good. And then we're going to lift that leg. We're going to do small circles. If you need to lower that bottom leg, you can do. Good, change direction of those circles. Keep that leg nice and long, draw with the heel. Good, well done. And then lower that leg down, relax through. We're going to bring that top leg up out of the way, either behind or in front, and the bottom foot to the front edge of the mat. We're going to lift that lower leg, and then we're going to circle that lower leg. Keep that leg nice and long, and then we're going to change direction of those circles. Last one. Good, well done. And lower down. Good. And then bring both legs down and just have a big lengthen through. You want to bring that bottom leg forward, top leg lengthens down, and really stretch those toes and top fingertips away from one another. Feel like you might lift that waist away from the mat slightly. Have a big stretch through. Good, well done. And relax off. So we're going to do a couple of plank variations. If a plank is too much for you, and even in a modified position, you feel like you're straining through your lower back, then I don't want you to do it. So make sure you're not putting yourself in any kind of risky positions for your back. It's really not worth it, and you shouldn't push through it. So if you want to, as an alternative to a plank, want to come into swimming level 4 and holding it. So nice long spine, shoulders down, thinking about engaging through the core muscles, making sure that you're not arched or hollowed through that lower back, but nice and long. And you can just hold that stretch from heel to fingertips away, hold it for 5 breaths, control down, and then hold the other side. So you're doing a static hold rather than for 5 breaths, and then swapping side to side. So you can have a go at that instead. If you want to do some stretches, you can have a go at some stretches. Or even from this position, you can just gently lift your knees up and hold that position. So you can just fit maybe a tennis ball underneath your knee, and just try and hold it for as long as you feel comfortable to. Keep the shoulders down, make sure you're not coming up towards your ears, and just holding that position as long as you feel comfortable to. Keep breathing. You can lower down and have a little break as you need to, but just starting to try and load if you feel like the planks are just a bit too much for you. So we're going to start off with a plank where we just work those oblique abdominals again, so our rotation through the waist. So we're going to come down onto elbows. I'll show you quickly and then we'll start together. So we're going to lift up into our plank position. Now if you'd rather that be onto your knees, you can have that you can come onto your knees. And from your knees, we're going to bend one leg up, lift the knee, and tap the toe to the other side. Doesn't have to go all the way to the floor, lower the knee down. So you're bending the knee, lift, tap the toe to the opposite side, lower the knee, and lower the leg. Or, if you're in a full plank position, we're going to bend the leg, tap, coming back to the centre, lower the leg, bend, tap, back to the centre, lower down. Okay, so from here, make sure those shoulders are down and back. When you lift, I really want you to think about that neutral pelvis position. So we're really thinking, imagine you've got a towel, you're going to tuck it between your legs and pull up through your belly button, so your belly button is pulling up towards the spine as much as possible. So shoulders down, core switched on, pulling up through the pelvic floor, in through the belly button. Breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to lift up. And then from there, just make sure you're really tucking that tailbone down. So imagine you've got a towel, tuck it between your legs, so you should feel your bottom working, and you're pulling your belly button in towards your spine. I'm going to bend a leg, tap down, bring back up, and down onto the mat. So bending the leg, tap to the opposite side, back up, and lowering the leg down. Scorpion twist. Good. If you're on your knees, bending the leg, trying to lift the knee, tap down, coming back, lower the knee, lower the leg. Lift, tap, come back and down. Make sure you keep that tailbone tucked, shouldn't feel it through your lower back. You've got 5 seconds. 2, 1, and relax down. Good, well done. If you want to, you can just come in, have a little stretch through onto all fours. Sit back onto your heels, forehead towards the mat. Just have a little stretch out. Good, well done. Okay, we're going to do one more plank. And again, so you can either just do a straight plank, you can do a half plank on your knees, or you can come into one of those variations of the swimming or the prone plank prep. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Or you can you can do some toe taps. So from your plank position, tap out, come back, tap out, come back. You can do it on knees as well. Tap out, tap out. Okay, so shoulders down, pelvis neutral, core switched on. We're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to lift up, and then breath in as you breathe out, tap, you then come back. Really think about that tail, tuck it between your legs, pull up through the belly button, and make sure you're not feeling it through your lower back. Good. Remember, if you want to come onto your knees, tap and back, tap and back. Keep those shoulders down away from your ears. 10 seconds. 2, 1, and relax. Nice work, team, good work. Okay, I found those tough today. So we're going to just come back, have a stretch out through your back, sit back onto your heels, forehead and breastbone come down towards the mat. And just take a few big breaths in there. Good, one more. And then we're gently going to come back onto our front. I'm going to pop our hands underneath our shoulders and just work into a little bit of gentle extension. So work with what you're comfortable with. I don't want you kind of jamming into the lower back and irritating the lower back at all. I don't want that. I want the control. So think about that neutral pelvis. Imagine you've got a tail, tuck it between your legs. And core switched on. And we're gently just going to push up as far as you feel comfortable going. And then control back down. Good. And I only want you to go as far as you feel you can control. Make sure your lower back's happy. Let's do 2 more. The last one. Good, well done. And then I want you to turn on to your back. And we're just going to have a stretch on our back today. So we're going to lengthen through the legs, lengthen through the arms. And from here, I just want you to walk your feet across to the left side of the mat and walk your hands and shoulders, shuffle them to the left side of the mat as well. So you're just opening up, big banana stretch through that right side. Just hold on. If you want to increase that stretch slightly, hold your right wrist with your left hand and bring that right hand across to the left side, and you can cross your right ankle over your left, keeping the legs straight and keeping your shoulders and pelvis flat onto the mat. And you should feel that that opens up through that right side. You're really lengthening through the outside of the right torso. Okay, just hold it for one more breath. And then gently bring the hands back through to the centre, uncross the right leg, walk the feet through to the centre, just lengthen all the way through, and then walk the feet to the right side of the mat. Hands and shoulders to the right side of the mat. Hold on to your left wrist, pull that arm over, opening up, and you can cross your left ankle over your right. You're opening up through that left side of the body. Hold it for a couple more breaths. Good, and then gently uncross the arms, bring them back to the centre, uncross the legs, bring them back to the centre. And then from there, I'm going to get you to bend the knees, so the feet come in line with your hips and shoulders. We're going to hold on to the back of the right knee and then gently lengthen that leg, so that you start to feel a stretch through the back of the thigh on this side. So it might be that you come a little bit closer towards you. It might be that you get to here, and that's fine. So just work with what you're comfortable with. Just so you feel a stretch through the back of the leg. Good. Hold it for one more breath, and then gently relax that knee and just hug the knee in towards your chest. Lengthen the left leg out. Good. Try and just flatten your back down onto the mat, so you're really just making sure you're not arching through that lower spine. And then from there, we're going to bring that right knee across to the left side. So open up through your right arm, keep your shoulders flat, and take that knee down towards the floor. It might be that you just get to here, and that's fine. And work with what your body's telling you is a good stretch, but is comfortable for you, and works with your own kind of your own limitations, what your body's happy doing. Just hold it for one more breath, and then with control bring that leg back through to the centre. We're going to slide that left leg back up again, and then lower the right leg to join it. Okay, so from there we're going to come into a hamstring stretch. So we're going to bring that right leg up towards you. Sorry, the other leg, the left leg up towards you. Support the back of the knee, lengthen through so you feel a stretch through the back of the leg. Again, that's going to be different for everyone, so work with what you're comfortable doing. And I want you to feel a stretch through the back of the thigh. Keep breathing. Try and allow that breath to relax you into the stretch. Well done. So hold it for one more breath, and then gently Bend the knee, hug that left knee in towards you, lengthen through the right leg. Try and flatten that back down onto the mat as you hold that position, so you really, excuse me, opening up through the right hip and maybe stretching out through that left bottom cheek. And gently, just working at a level that works for you, we're going to bring that left knee across to the right side, open up through that left arm and bring the left knee down towards the right side of your mat. Just opening up through the waist, through the hip, maybe even through the chest a little bit, depending on where you're tight. Trying to keep your shoulders flat down onto the mat. Good, just hold it for one more breath. And then gently, with control, bring that knee back through to the centre. Good. Lower the foot onto the floor, bend the right leg up as well. Just lift and lower your hips, make sure you're nice and straight through the spine. We're going to cross your right leg over, so right ankle over the left knee. And you can hold it here and just push this knee away from you. And that might feel like enough of a stretch through that hip. Or you can bring your hands behind your left knee and bring the foot off the floor. And then again, if you still want to stretch a little bit more, you can then push the right knee away. And you should really feel that through the outside of the right bottom cheek. Just work with your breath. Breath in as you breathe out, try and relax into the stretch. Hold for one more breath. And then gently lower that left leg to the floor and uncross the right leg. I'm going to pop the left ankle onto the right thigh. And if you can either stay in that position, just push the knee away, or if you want to just support the right knee and push the left knee away, so you really open up through that left bottom cheek. And work with your breath. One more breath in there. And then gently lowering that foot back down to the floor, uncross the legs. We're just going to come onto our side. We're going to lengthen through the bottom leg and just bringing the right heel towards your bottom. Now if this doesn't work for you, you can come into our mermaid sitting position. Support your hand onto the floor, heel to bottom, and opening up through that hip. So you should feel a stretch to the front of the thigh and the hip. So you can either work here or here. But again, I want you to think about that pelvis and making sure, which either position, if you're in the sitting mermaid position or if you're in this position, trying to imagine you've got a tail, tuck it between your legs. So you're really pulling that belly button in towards your spine, and you'll feel that will increase the stretch through the front of the hip. So where your hip flexors attach, so your hip flexors from the front of the thigh come through and attach to the lower back. So it's easy in this position to arch through the lower back, but actually if you really think about tucking that tail down between your legs, you'll increase the stretch through the front of the thigh. You want to keep the knees together and not too far apart or knee forwards, just really trying to open up through the front. Good. You can even just use like a towel or hold onto your trouser leg. So if you can't get hold of your leg, you can use something to kind of help you. So you can wrap a towel underneath your ankle, or a scarf or dressing gown belt, something to just open up and help you give that little bit of a stretch without irritating anything. Get gently relax off. We're going to swap sides. So again, you can either come into sitting, and for this, thinking about that tucking that tail between your legs, or on your side, heel to bottom. Imagine you've got a tail, tuck it between your legs, so you're really pulling that belly button in towards your spine and pushing the front of the hip, kind of that groin bit forward, and feeling that nice stretch and opening through the front of the hip and front of the thigh. Good work with your breath. Make sure you haven't crept into just arching through that lower back. Imagine that tail, tuck it between your legs, hold it for one more breath.